Yes. So good evening, everybody. If you can hear me, please let me see some thumbs up. If you can hear me, let me see some thumbs up. If I'm audible, awesome. Thank you, Edith. Thank you for that. Awesome. So we are going to start. The rest will find us on the way because our time is far much spent. So welcome to today's webinar. My name is Patrick Onyambo. I'm the events manager for CloudForceSky, and we are so happy to have you with us today. Today we are going to have a very interesting webinar. For those who have been following us ever since we started this year, you know that we have been handling SDLC, that is Software Development Lifecycle, and so today we are going to continue with the next phase. Last time in the last webinar that we had, we were talking about testing, and so today we are going to be talking about deployment to the cloud, And before I invite our speaker or presenter today, allow me take a minute or two just to tell us about the community for those who are new to our community. So this is CloudForceSky. We are a team of cloud enthusiasts who have come together to learn and build in the cloud. We have come from different subfields in the cloud computing sphere, where we are learning. We are learning on how to deploy, on how to architect, on how to secure, generally everything that has to do with the cloud. And we are a place where people learn, people grow, people build together, and we have seen so much growth in our community ever since we started. So if you are new and you've never heard about us, we are CloudForceSky, and you can find us on LinkedIn. We go by the same name, CloudForceSky Community. You can also find us on YouTube. Our channel has the same name, CloudForceSky. So you can follow us there, and you will be able to see our past the past videos that we've had, the past presentations that we've had, and learn from us, even as we learn from you. When you join our community, it's a space for growth, it's a space for learning for everybody. And here we like looking at ourselves as equals among equals. So you come here and you learn from us as we learn from you, and we grow together. That is the much that I can say about us. So links to our various socials will be shared in the course of time. And yes, so I'm very happy to see all of you here. I'm happy to see you, Evans, Edith, I can see you. I can see our speaker, Macrine, is with us. I see Omwenga, I see Kevin, I see Daniel, I see Kelly, I can see John. Let me just expand this. I can see you, Evans. We are so happy to have you guys. I see you, Brian. So welcome, karibuni sana. And we are going to start our presentation. So allow me to introduce to us our speaker for the day. And our speaker for the day comes with a wealth of experience. She's one of the co-founders of our community, and she's also a real-life practicing DevOps engineer, not an enthusiast, not a training one, but actually a practicing DevOps engineer. And I feel that we really have a lot to learn from her today. So Macrine, if you're on the call, please just confirm to me that you're on the call. All right. Macrine is on the call. I've seen that thumbs up. So give me just a second before I set the microphone to her. So today we'll be talking about deployment to the cloud. I'm just picking something, a profile about what you're going to cover today. So yes, we'll be talking about deployment in the cloud, and this is just a follow-up to what we were doing as a community. One of the things that we do as a community, we do weekly challenges. We do a challenge a month, so I think it's called monthly challenges. So today we'll be looking at cloud deployment phase in the software development lifecycle, and I know most of you have been looking forward to this. And so Macrine will be taking us through this. And Macrine, I think it's just proper to sit the microphone to you. Karibu.
Thank you, Patrick. Hi, everyone. I hope everyone is had a good day and your week is good and successful. Welcome to today's talk. And today's talk is going to be a very interesting topic. And it's something that everyone in tech is looking forward to learn. And there are those who have already learned and they are knowledgeable in every sector of today's topic. So I'll just share my screen. Yeah, confirm that you can see my screen. Okay. Okay. So in today's topic, we're going to talk about cloud deployment first in SDLC. And as this year's challenge was to learn SDLC and all its phases in depth. So in today's phase, it's about deployment in the cloud. And about cloud, I believe some of you or maybe all of you know that what cloud is and how deployments happen in cloud. So we have cloud providers like AWS, Google Cloud, Huawei, Oracle. There are so many, even Angani, the ones in Kenya. Yeah. So in today's topic, we're going to discuss how you can deploy your project in the cloud, maybe in any cloud provider, either AWS, Google Cloud. They're just all the same, but they just have different terms. So we'll go ahead and what we'll discuss the deployment strategies, tools that you can use, security in the cloud, and even best practices and future trends. So, introduction, of course, you know what cloud is, and deployment to the cloud involves you, like you're releasing your project, like you've already coded your front end, your back end, and now you want to deploy it somewhere so that the end users can get to know it and use it. So in this definition, like I'll just give you an example of a project. Maybe we can use something like maybe which website is great. We just use the AWS one actually, and just use AWS. So let me go to this one. Wait for it to load. So example, this page, someone sat down and coded this thing that you're seeing here, this form here, and even this image here, the links. Now, when someone has already coded this one, now they want us as the end users to get to see it and to use it. So this is the part where cloud deployment comes in. The deployment part, deploying what you've coded, because it cannot be used when it's in your local machine. So it has to be in the cloud or somewhere. So the importance of cloud deployment and not letting the code sit in your machine is so that you can be releasing projects faster. And then in cloud, of course, we have all the resources that you need. If you have 1 million users, of course, you cannot use one machine. You need to have like 5 or even 6 machines with different CPU, RAM, storage. And with users, it's not that all the time they are using your application. Sometimes you'll have one user using it, sometimes 500,000 people at the same time. And with your project, you have to handle all these requests and all these people. But for cloud, it's great because you can use anything. You can use 5 servers and then you delete them and then go back to one server and everything will be okay because they have great features like auto scaling. So you choose maybe if there is high traffic, the servers will auto scale. And if there is low traffic, they'll be deleted one by one depending with the request. So that's the beauty of deploying in the cloud. And also on-prem, it all depends with the company or organization, what their requirements are. But so far, cloud is the way to go, and it's great. And even so, it's in SDLC because it's an important topic when you are creating a software. And in companies, they always have to discuss where they will deploy their project, if it will be on-prem or it will be in cloud. So it's a critical part in the SDLC, and any discussion about deployment, it always has to be there. So SDLC, of course, the software has to be deployed, and if you choose cloud or on-prem, it all depends with your requirements. So we have types of cloud deployment models. We have the public cloud, private, hybrid, and multi-cloud. And like I said, it all depends with the organization. What do they want? Some people, they'll choose to go to AWS. Reason being maybe because of the pricing. And some, you see some migrating from AWS to maybe Huawei Cloud. And sometimes it's because of the pricing, or maybe Huawei have given them a better offer. And sometimes people migrate from Huawei to AWS because of the offer. And it all depends with the client. What do they want? How much money do they have? And how do they want their services to look like? So that is public cloud. For private cloud, it's like the client will have to, they say like, we want this infrastructure, and they can work with a third party, and then they'll be given the infrastructure in an on-premises somewhere. So the infrastructure will be their own. For example, like in Konza, you can go to Konza and then you tell them you need this number of servers and this kind of infrastructure, and they'll give it to you. So that is like a private cloud. And for hybrid, it's like combining the two. Now you have your public cloud and private cloud. So some services are in private, some are in public, and then you just combine the two and use them. Multi-cloud, you can choose to use either Huawei, AWS, Azure, all the same, using the same application. And as you know, an application can consist of many services, microservices. So you can choose one service to run on AWS, another one to run on Huawei, another one to run on Azure and Google Cloud. Yes, so the benefits of using cloud deployment, of course, it's reliable and some things are just automated. For example, the auto scaling, you just need to set some rules and you leave it to the cloud and everything will work. For cost, of course, cost, it is efficient, but it all depends with the team you're working with. If you have a team of solution architects, if they are keen enough, they'll be able to optimize the cost. Because for cloud, it's quite expensive when you don't know how to provision things and optimize, because you can find yourself over provisioning for something that just uses a small CPU, small RAM, and even storage. Yes. And on cloud, deployment happens very fast depending with the tools that you're using. I won't lie that it is faster, but it all depends with what you're using to deploy. Okay, on to the next topic. We're going to discuss the cloud deployment. And first of all, when the people that are deciding what you need to do with your project, where it wants to be deployed, the panel. Yeah. So first of all, for example, if they decide in the SDLC phase, the development part, maybe they will use front end, they'll use maybe React, and backend they'll use maybe Node.js. First of all, they'll have to know which tools they'll use. For example, if they store their code in GitLab or GitHub, and which kind of CI/CD tools will they use? So that's why the deployment phase is important in SDLC, because if they don't discuss it, they might choose the wrong tools which are not compatible with what they require. Because there are other tools that you should pay for. Maybe you don't want to use the AWS tools for CI/CD. Maybe you just want something that is free, and that is maybe GitLab CI, and that has to be discussed in the discussions, the initial discussions. So the role of deployment, it's important because it has to be integrated with the development team. They have to tell their master branches to go to AWS cloud, or they should go to Google Cloud. So they should know everything in this phase. It should be discussed. And also the releasing of the project, they should discuss how it will be released. Maybe there is a development phase, staging phase, and also the production. So they have to discuss how many phases they want to release their project. And while releasing, where is it going? Is it AWS? Is it Huawei or Oracle? All this has to be discussed because it's important to the end user and also the organization. So the key activities in cloud deployment. Of course, you'll have to create your infrastructure. You have to write some configurations for your application. For example, if it's something like Django, that is Python, you'll have to have a .env file, like environment variables. So you have to configure everything that is suitable to go to the cloud. If you have environment variables, maybe decide you want them to sit in AWS, and you should know where the parameters should be stored, secrets to be used, all that needs to be discussed. And then there is monitoring and logging. This one is always discussed, but it can be discussed. Okay, it's better to discuss it initially, but some teams discuss it after everything is done, or maybe an error occurs. That's when they discuss about monitoring and logging, but it's important because for the application side, monitoring and logging, you can use tools like, okay, I've forgotten the name of the tool, but there's a good tool that is used for monitoring and logging in the application side. Just install it in your code and then you use it. If I remember the name, I'll give it to you, I'll share. Now go to strategies. So for blue-green deployment, example of this, I'll use an example. Let's go here. So for example, we have this rectangle shape here. This is number one, CloudForceSky, cloudforesky.com. And then let me duplicate this. There is the same thing running side by side, but maybe this one you can give it a different name so that when traffic hits, it goes to the production one. So you have two identical environments running. So when you deploy code, at least this one, this is code. We are deploying code to your project, and then the project will go, it has to go to both these environments, to these two environments. So I'll just, yeah, it has to go to these two. Let this one come from here. Yes. So the code is going to these two different environments. And you know, if you're using 5 servers here, you should also use 5 servers here. So when you deploy, the meaning of blue-green deployment, first you deploy your project, they should be running side by side, but side by side, and let me just go to the PowerPoint. Yes, they should be running side by side, and one of them has new releases. Okay, let me just get rid of this one. So of course, what blue-green means is that you'll have to deploy your code to the non-production environment first, and then you test it as real-time users are using this one. Let me just add users here. So these are your users. Users are, okay. Yeah. Users are here, they're pointing to CloudForceSky.com, but the developer is here pushing code to test.cloudforce.com. So when they push their code here, it is tested first, thoroughly, of course. If it has no errors, then the code will be pushed to cloudforsky.com. So that is blue-green deployment. And like I've said, if you have 5 servers here, you should also have 5 servers here because it has to be tested the same way it's on production. And the disadvantage of this blue-green deployment is that, of course, the cost will be higher because you'll have to pay double compared to deleting this one and just having one environment running. So you'll have to pay double. And the advantage is that if this one fails, of course, rollback plan, that is, the users will not experience any errors. So this is safe but expensive. So as the team, the panel team, you have to decide which is the best way to go. Do you want to pay more but be safe, or do you want to pay less and maybe face some risks? So that is blue-green deployment. And then we have another type of deployment, that is canary. So what canary does is that let me go back here. You do your releases. So let me move these ones down. Now you do your releases, but now we have some users here. Let me put here 2 users. So probably you have your users, but as you release your project, the project is only used by a few number of users, small number of users, and then the rest are still on the main project. But once the small number of users don't experience any errors, that's when you let all the users use the same project that you've just deployed new changes. Yeah, so that is canary. You're releasing it to small users as you progress, checking whether there are errors. If they don't complain, you continue increasing the weight to that new releases. Okay, that is Canary. The next type of deployment is the rolling deployment, and this is what everyone likes using, like me. I normally use rolling deployment. So for rolling deployment, what happens? It's simple. Let me delete these two users. So what happens? We have code here. Yes, this one. So what happens? The developer only pushes code to production, and then the users see the changes immediately. So they don't have to wait. What happens in rolling deployment for testing? Someone might say that someone can push an error to production. Of course, such cases happen, but to avoid that, what the developers do, I'll replicate this. What happens? We'll have 3 of them. So what happens? The code will be here. This will be seen as the dev stage. Let me call it dev. And then it moves to, like, there is a cycle to staging. And then the staging will move to, this is the production code. Okay. I can have production. Yes. So what happens when the developers do their thing, they have coded, they push their code to the development branch, that is in GitHub or GitLab. Once it's in development branch, it will trigger what is it called? It will trigger the activity to push that code to the staging environment. And then once the staging, now in the staging phase is where testing happens. The developers test the code in real time. So you can give your staging environment a domain name. For example, let me give it a name. Let's say this is staging.cloudforcesky.com. .cloudforce.com. So every time developers push code to staging, they'll have to come to this domain and act as an end user to see to experience what the end user should experience. So once there are no any errors, that code will be triggered and it will be pushed to now the production code. And now this production code will push the changes to the main servers, and then the users will get the code. So as much as rolling is just going straight to the point, you still have to go through these phases in the developer side to at least test what you are releasing to the end user. So that is rolling, and it happens almost in every tool, like Kubernetes. Kubernetes is rolling, it does rolling updates. Like when you push your changes, the images are created and it is immediately released to the end user. Yes, so those are the 3 types of deployments. Okay, now we go to the next topic. And the next topic is tools for cloud deployment. And as we know, we have these famous tools that people use for cloud deployment. And the first tool is Terraform. But now for Terraform, you can actually create an infrastructure from scratch using Terraform. So you just write your code And then from that code, you tell it deploy something, and it follows your command. That's the beauty of deploying to the cloud. So for this, I'll just open a Terraform script. Let me find it. Okay, just an example. We have this infrastructure here. You now you want to deploy your project to this infrastructure. Now, how do you create this infrastructure using Terraform? As you can see from this article, you just tell Terraform, please, okay, you don't have to tell it please, but yeah, you just write the correct format of code. And from here, you're telling it, deploy my project in US East 1. It follows your command. You're commanding it. And then create VPC. Create a VPC called CloudForce VPC. It will create that. And then you give it CIDR block, of course. And now you tell it to create subnets. It creates for you. As long as, like, you see, this is human readable. Like, there's nothing foreign here or French. There's nothing Japanese. So it's just simple English. You just tell it, do this, and it does that. Yeah. So it creates subnets, it creates for you internet gateway, and you can also tell it to create a security group for you. So once you run Terraform apply, it will have created for you all this infrastructure. And that's the beauty of using Terraform. So the advantage of learning Terraform, if you are in tech, it's because you can use it anywhere. You can use it in AWS, Google Cloud, Huawei, Oracle. You can use it anywhere, like it's all round. If you know Terraform, you can fit in anywhere, in any organization that uses any kind of cloud. You'll not have to run and learn it again. So that is Terraform. It's all round. Another tool, since we are AWS majorly, you can learn to use CloudFormation. That is now it's an AWS tool. And it will also do the same thing as Terraform. You just tell it the commands, tell it to write for you this infrastructure, and it does that. Deploy for me an EC2 instance, and it will do exactly that. And the beauty of using this infrastructure as code to deploy your infrastructure is because, let's say you decide, or not you, but maybe the organization or your client decides that they want to have 5 more web servers. You know, you cannot go to console and then start deploying those. Okay, for five you can manage. Let's say they want 20 more servers, and like they need to see them. What do you do when you have Terraform? It's simple. Just go to your code and add the servers. Like, it's just the same thing. Let me find that one for the server. This is security group. Now this is a template. Where are the servers? These are load balancers. To scaling groups. Okay. So for example, okay, I cannot find the servers, but since it's auto scaling, the servers are not initialized in the first place. So for example, if they tell you to add 50 more servers, you just come to your code, you copy paste what you had done, and then you just edit the name, and it will follow the same format. So it's easier to document what you're doing. And even when you want to redo the same infrastructure for another client, you'll just come to the Terraform script and change the names, and the whole setup will be up and running. Like, as much as it seems like it's hard work to start writing the code, but once you have your code, your Terraform script, you can deploy any infrastructure as long as It's just the same thing. And in organizations, this like infrastructure is the same. There's nothing different, especially when you're deploying to cloud. These things are just the same. Once you have your Terraform script, you have everything. You can deploy anywhere, and you'll deploy your project, and it will be up and running within 30 minutes or 20 minutes, depending on your speed. So you can choose to start hard and then have it easy for the rest of your technology life. Yes. So you can enjoy writing the scripts, both in Terraform, CloudFormation, and also the one for Azure is called ARM. Yes. So you can choose to explore these tools. Terraform is one of the best. I believe Patrick can attest to that it's the best. Yes. Okay. Now we go to the next tools. Now we have these amazing tools. They are called configuration management tools. So for these tools, honestly, what I've used is just Ansible. The rest I've not interacted with them that much. But an example of Ansible. So for Ansible, what it does, we'll just go back here. What Ansible does is, maybe you have now we are just going to imagine, because we are not doing it practically. But if we had enough time, we would have done it practically so that you can see it in action. Yeah. Now we have these servers. Let's say they are, I'll just use 6, but you can just imagine they are like 50 servers or something. Yeah. So we have these 6 servers, EC2 instances. Now they tell you, we want the same configuration to go to these 6 servers. And what's the configuration? Example, let me write something here. They're telling you need to run something. Maybe they want you to install Docker in all these 6 servers. And of course, the commands to install Docker, I believe I have them somewhere. Okay, let me just find that for you, how to install Docker. That is in DigitalOcean. How to install Docker. Yeah, in Ubuntu. So actually it's here. Yeah. So this is just a guide to install Docker in a Linux machine. You see all these steps, you have to follow them, all of them. Now they have told you to install Docker in all these 6 servers. What do you use? You can just create a simple Ansible script. And with Ansible, it's actually very simple. You just tell it to run these commands, all these commands, and then you tell it the number of servers that it is going to deploy those commands to. So maybe this is, you can give it a simple IP address. Of course, it will be wrong. I'm just guessing. .3. Then I just copy paste all this. Paste. Of course, they have different IP addresses. So this is Ansible. It has the code to, okay, not code, but commands. commands to install Docker. Install Docker. You have told it the commands. Another thing that Ansible always has is this file. It's called the inventory.ini. So in this file, this is where your IP addresses will be. Like you're telling Ansible, go to inventory.ini and check all the IP addresses that are added there. And in those IP addresses, run these commands. As long as where your Ansible commands are running from, let's say your local host, this local host of yours. So this is our local host. This local host of ours, this local host needs to be able to connect to all these servers, all these 6 servers. So what you do from your local host, you can use something called SSH keys. And what SSH keys do, let me write it for you here in case you are taking notes. Yes. SSH keys, they will help your local machine to connect to all these servers without using password. So you can just write commands like, let's say you want to SSH to one of the servers, you just write it SSH, the name of the server or the user, the username, the user on the server, maybe it's root. When you create Linux machines, they always use root as the root server, but you can go in and create your own server, maybe your own user and call it CloudForce. Root at, now the IP address, 404.123.2.3. You tell it SSH to this server using this command. And then once you write that, it will just SSH without asking you for a password. That's why it's important to create SSH keys from your local machine to be able to connect to all these servers without a password. So when you run Ansible from your local machine, of course, it will have to SSH to all of them and run the commands. It will need the permission. So once you've SSH keys into your localhost and these machines, Ansible will run these commands without asking you for password, and it will have all the permissions. So that is how easy it is to use Ansible, and it's fast. Of course, you can also install other things, and also you can run other commands, like maybe you want to pull code to these servers from GitHub. So you just write your Git commands here. Let's say you want it to do git pull, yeah? So you just write your commands there, git pull, and maybe run the code, maybe PHP optimize, yeah, or maybe npm start. It will come and it will follow all the commands you've given it. If you've told it git pull, that is what it will run. npm start, that is what it will run. So that's the beauty of using Ansible as a configuration management tool. And I believe that is it for the rest of the tools like Chef and Puppet. But Ansible is also one of the best tools to use and to explore. And also for Ansible, the beauty about Ansible, there is this article that I wrote recently, and it's using Ansible actually to deploy this Kubernetes cluster. So here you can just come and see it in action. Let me just find where is it? Yeah. This tool is called KubeSpray. And what it does, it deploys the Kubernetes infrastructure for you. And this is just Ansible. So Ansible can be used to deploy a whole Kubernetes cluster, as long as you have the servers to run your Kubernetes cluster. You just tell it and it does everything for you. So for example, here you see we have the host. You're telling it which server do you want it to be. Node 1 can have the control plane, the etcd, the kube node. Okay, those are crazy words, of course. So I'll stop there, but you can just come and try this. Just try this to deploy something using Ansible. It's already created for you, and you can play around with it. I was looking for something, the inventory.ini. Okay, I can't find it. Yeah, but just come and play with these tools. Yeah, here we have a sample. Yeah, here it is. So like I was saying, this is the inventory.ini, where you tell it, you list all your servers with the IP addresses and the username that it should look for. So like this one, this is node 1. This is like in Kubernetes, you're telling it this is worker node 1, worker node 2. So you just come and define them here. And of course, you have to tell it the IP address. This is just an example of it. Yeah. So you can come and play around with Ansible and try creating SSH keys. This is an example of creating SSH keys on your local machine and trying to SSH to the other machine without using a password. So it's that simple. Using Ansible, creating SSH keys. Yes. Now we go to the next topic. We still have three minutes. Okay. And I have not done the practical part of it, so we'll just do theory. Now go to the best part, CI/CD tools. We have Jenkins, we have Code Pipeline, and GitLab CI. So for CI/CD, it all depends with your preference. Some people prefer using Jenkins, others Code Pipeline, others GitLab. So they're all good tools. I've interacted with Code Pipeline and GitLab CI. Jenkins, not that much, but I'll be learning it soon. So for AWS Code Pipeline, it's very easy to use, and it's just clicking and you have it up and running. For GitLab, the same thing. You just write what you want it to do. You're telling it to maybe push this code to somewhere, or telling it to run this Docker image and store it in Docker registry. Yes. So that you have Code Pipeline. And for that, if you need more explanation, there is an article for that. For yes, this on Code Pipeline. Actually, this explains it all, how it works, how it flows from having your code in GitHub all the way to using Code Pipeline, Code Build, Code Deploy, up to the EC2 instance. So this will tell you every step, and it's detailed. And there is a sample code there. It's the bookup frontend. So what you can do, you can just try to deploy this using Code Pipeline. And this repository is public. So every step will lead you to seeing this. It's a long article actually. So this one cannot. Okay. So this is where you should end up. So you can just try, give it a try. create the code pipeline. And with the AWS code pipeline, there are these steps that should pass. There is application stop. There is, the major ones are before install, install, and after install. So for these 3 steps, there is a script that you write telling it to do something before installing, and then it will install, and then after install. For example, if you're deploying a node application, if you are deploying a node application in a server, that server needs to have the node installed, a specific version, of course. It needs to have a few tools installed so that those scripts, you write them in the before install stage, and then there is the install stage and after install. And when you go through this article, you'll be able to see all the scripts. Actually, they are here. There are snippets of them here, and you can just go walk through this article and you learn the beauty of using AWS code pipeline. Another tool is GitLab CI. For this one, it's quite easy, but I don't think I've used it. I've used it, but I've not documented it. So there is no article for you there. But you can also go through this article, deploying React.js using Elastic Beanstalk to Elastic Beanstalk. And deploying to Elastic Beanstalk, actually, it's good for developers because they don't have to write all this code, maybe using Terraform or Ansible. They'll just go direct to Beanstalk and it will just be automatic. It's not hard to use. It's very easy to use. And it's one of the best tools for developers. Yes. Okay, now we go to our last part, and security, of course, it's very important in the cloud. You want to deploy a project there, you have to ensure that security is top-notch. And for AWS, we have IAM, also for other clouds, of course. And you have to create IAM users. You have to make sure that we have a 2FA, that is authentication. You need to utilize these tools because there is always a hacker somewhere trying to get into your project and bringing it down. So you have to utilize these tools. And as an organization, when discussing the SDLC phases, security is one of the most important that should be discussed. And it's very critical because once someone hacks into your project, sometimes it's very hard to get back because they do some real damage with it. So IAM is very important to create. And also, of course, you can use other tools like Sneak, the spelling of Sneak. Let me write it for you here so that you can go and check it out and what it does. Let me just write it for you. It's called Sneak. Yeah, those are some jargon words that I picked up from security people. Security people like 2A. I think 2A is in the call. I'm not sure if he's still in, but yes, you can go to him if you need some security talk and to learn more about these tools. Yes. So, of course, your network should be secured. Going to security groups, firewalls, the NACLs, you should ensure that every port is accounted for. If you're opening port 80, make sure that whoever is using it is authorized to use it. If you're SSHing port 22, you should actually be very careful with it because once someone gets to it, they can do anything to your machine because they just have to write commands and everything will be destroyed or something bad will happen to your code. So you have to be careful with security groups and the IP addresses you're allowing to SSH into. into your servers. Data encryption, of course. Data at rest should be encrypted in transit. And in transit, you have to make sure that all the calls coming to your servers, they have to be HTTPS, nothing less. They just have to be HTTPS, secured, not HTTP. HTTP is for port 80 and HTTPS is for port 443. So this will always have to ask for a certificate to make sure that it is secure. Now we go to best practices and future trends. Of course, automation is the key, monitoring and logging, and CI/CD. You have to automate a few things or even more to make your work easier and to reduce errors, improve speed, and yeah, everything will work. Monitoring and logging, you also have to use tools like Prometheus, Grafana, and the other one for applications. You have to use those tools to at least be alerted before anything falls or before you start getting 4 errors or 500 errors. CI/CD tools, you have to adapt them because you cannot do some things manually. You just have to create these pipelines so that everything is seamless. So for future trends, of course, we are going to serverless, orchestration, containerization, and edge computing. You have to know these things like people are starting to use Kubernetes, and some are going to serverless. Yeah, and it's a good thing that the cloud provides you with serverless tools like Elastic Beanstalk. Yeah, you don't have to deal with servers. And then conclusion, of course, in SDLC, cloud deployment is important. And if you're on-prem, it's also good. All these have to be discussed while discussing the SDLC lifecycle. Yes, that is it from me. Any questions? Okay. I believe everyone has understood the presentation, and very soon people will be deploying to the cloud. Yes, that is it from me, Patrick.
Awesome. That was a very good presentation. Let us give Macrine a round of applause. Virtual round of applause. You've done a very good job. You've done a very thorough job walking us through the entire SDLC that covers the processes that covers cloud deployment. That was really insightful. And yes, I like the fact that you've touched on Terraform, a special tool loved by many as an infrastructure provisioning tool. And then, of course, we have Ansible, the one that you've also talked about in good length. Ansible is also very, very powerful. Plus all those other tools. I hope guys have learned. I hope you have learned, because I was here shaking my head and saying, So those are some of the tools, like the likes of Chef and Puppet. I've also not really used them, but there are things that I would also like to tinker with later. And also, you have mentioned something to do with CI/CD, where you talked about you've talked about GitLab CI and AWS Code Pipeline. Those are very powerful, and you've even gone to the extent of reminding us of other clouds like the ARM. Not really ARM. Sorry, ARM is for Azure provisioning, equivalent to Terraform, which is cloud agnostic. So that was really insightful. I will not water it down. You've actually given us a concentrated dose that you can now go sit down and even go through. Maybe for the benefit of those who are present, you can also share the links to the articles that you are making reference to, so that maybe those who are interested can go and read through, try and deploy maybe to Beanstalk, to Elastic Beanstalk, and see how things are running from the code pipeline direction. But that was really a very good lesson, a very good lesson. And personally, I'll try out a project or two just to see how these things tie together. But that was really good. I hope you guys have learned as much as I have, and now we are looking forward to even the next webinar that we'll be having, where we'll now be talking about deployment. I believe we'll be dealing now with deployment on-prem. We are still on SDLC. Now we'll be looking at deployment on-prem, and I hope you guys will be with us again when we do that webinar sometime next month. So, seeing that there are no questions, let me start first of all by appreciating Macrine for a job well done and a webinar well presented, learning well delivered. Thank you so much, and we look forward to hosting you again and again and again. And keep sharing. That was really insightful. So everybody else who joined us today, thank you so much for making the time to be with us today. And we are looking forward to hosting you again in our next webinar. So from us here, we want to wish you a wonderful night and a blessed remainder of your week. So bye for now. You're free to leave at your own will. And if you joined us late and would like to have a recording, we will post this recording on our YouTube channel. So bye for now and have a good evening. Bye bye.